Hello and welcome, developers. My name is Shay, and this is another episode of Shay Develops. In this episode, we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be doing a challenge video where I'm going to challenge you guys to do something, and then I'm going to build it right here. In this challenge, we're going to do a unique word count build where we're going to take a string and then count all the unique words and then output them to the screen. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I've got a little story here that I'm going to just go ahead and copy and paste. I got it offline. You can just grab whatever story you want to, or take a second and copy mine. So we've got a few things that we want to take into consideration whenever doing this. We have these new line characters that will potentially be a problem. We have capitalization that could be a problem, and we have this punctuation that could also be a problem, as well as these commas right here that we have that could also be a problem. So we're gonna have to take care of all those. We're gonna have to sanitize the data, and then just get the words themselves. All right. So now that we have our story, let's create a class that's going to handle all of this stuff for us. We could just do it down here, but I like to keep my classes separate. So let's right click and then a new Java class, and we'll just call it word count, and we'll save it there, make that a little bigger so you guys can read it. And now let's go ahead and get started. So the very first thing we want to do is, I guess we could get the sentences, to get the sentence count or something like that. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's do public static void, and you guys can build this however you want to, just as long as you're getting the same output, which is you're getting how many times a word is used within your text. So I'm just gonna break this down bit by bit. I'm gonna start by getting a sentence count, then getting a total word count, and then getting a unique word count. All right, so public static void get sentence count, and we're making it static so that way we do not have to instantiate the word count class within our main method, and we can just call it without having to do that. So we're gonna pass it our string of story, and we need to get how many sentences we have. So let's go ahead and count those real quick. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a long one. 6 and 7. Okay, so we have 7 sentences. So that's what we're expecting, 7. So we'll do a string array to store all of our sentences, and we'll just call it sentences equals story dot. Now when you're working with strings, you can split strings by a character. It could be like a space or something else, but with sentences you could actually split them by a period, unless you have like ellipses or something like that. Then you might get some kind of weird or abbreviation or something like that. You might get some kind of weird data come back from that. But for this story that we have, we can just use this period, so we can do split, and we have to pass this a regex, but it'll be pretty simple for this one. It'll be double forward slash and then a period, because we have to escape the first backslash to get to the second backslash to escape the period, so that way the regex knows to. We're going to split every sentence we're going to split our strings by a sentence. So now we can just do, and if you're not familiar with regex, it's totally fine. I haven't done any videos on it, and it's a little complicated even for me. And I will be doing some videos on it though in the future to get a better understanding. So let's go ahead and just do sentence count. Sentences.length, because we're working with an array there. And then now we can just come back to main Java, and we can do, get sentence count. make that a little bigger there. Get, oh, and we can pass it story. And we're getting a little error here because we need to import our package from word count here. So we can hover over here, get more actions, and then oh, I see what I've done wrong here. Sorry about that. I put it too far down. There we go. Put it here. And then now we can all enter. And we can import the static method right from here. Import staticmethod.com or shaydevelops.wordCount. And instead of get sentence count, I'm going to remove this and I'm just going to use an asterisk, which is a wildcard, meaning I'm getting all of the methods that I'm going to create in this in the word count classes. I'm going to be able to access them all without having to access them all individually by their names. So go ahead and run this, and we should get a sentence count of 7. And that we do. You can see that right here. Sentence count 7. All right, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and break this down now into words. Let's go see how many. It'll be total words. Now, it's not going to be unique words. So we'll do public static void get word count. And we're going to pass it the same string story. Or whatever it is you want to name it. You can name S, whatever. It doesn't matter. All right, so let's. This is going to get the total word count. So let's pass this into a list instead of an array. We'll do words equal, and then make sure, like I said, you are importing that java.util.list. If you're getting an error there, mine did it automatically, so I didn't have to do it. So now we can do I'm sorry. So I went a little too far. So before I really want to do this, I kind of want to sanitize my data so I can I could do story.split. Matter of fact, I'll continue to do. I'll do story.split here, and then I will split it by a space. So every space I'm going to so I provided a string array, but I'm saying that it is a list. So in order to make this happen, you can do new array list, and we will do array list arrays dot as list, and then we can pass it the story dot split, and then split it based off of spaces, and then now we can output total word count, and we'll just pass it words dot size, and that should output our total word count. Let's see if that works, or if I have messed it up, which I tend to do. All right, so it was called get word count, so get word count, and we'll pass it the story. Let's go ahead and run this now. Let's see what happens. It should output, 99 total words right there. So that's actually working pretty well. That's what I was expecting. I do believe there are 99 words here. All right. So now that we have the word count, we could start getting our unique word count. But remember, I was talking earlier about all these different dots and capitalization and commas and all this stuff that could have a negative impact on our word count, because you and you with a comma next to it is two separate words. So we need to make sure that, like I said, we sanitize it and we get rid of all that stuff. So let's go ahead and create create a method that will sanitize our data. So we'll do public static, and we're going to return a list of type string, and we'll call it sanitize string, where we pass our story to. So the first thing I want to do is remove new lines and carriage returns, and then I want to separate strings by space and store it into another list. And then I want to remove the punctuation. And then the last thing we want to do is we want to sort our data to make it, or to get ready to start comparing the data whenever we go for our unique words. Okay, so the first thing I said I want to do is I want to remove the new lines and carriage returns. So I can do this by, I'm going to create a new string. Let's call it new story equals s dot, and I can use a thing called replace all, or a method called replace all on a string, which uses a regular expression, which is going to be bracket /n for new line and /r for carriage returns, and then I want to replace that with the second parameter, which is just an empty string. So it's going to replace any new line characters, and it's just going to get rid of them. So that's done, which is nice. Fairly simple there. And then now I want to create a list of type string, because we're going to be outputting a list. So we're going to be working with a list. I'm going to call it single words equals new array list, and it'll be arrays dot as list new story dot split. So we are now splitting our array list by spaces, which is good so far. And then we want to do a list string updated equals new array list that we're going to be using in a little bit whenever we remove our punctuation. Now, let's go ahead and start removing our punctuation. You guys are going to see why I created two separate lists for this. So the first one is just going to go, we're going to use a for loop, use a for each, where we can pass or string word. If you guys haven't watched a video on for loops, you're more than welcome to go check that out real quick. They're pretty simple though. I'm sure you can follow along. And we're going to pass it single words, and we're going to refer to it as word within our for loop. And keep in mind that as I pass single words in, it's expecting, this for loop is expecting single words to not change. So I can't really update it within this for loop. So that's why I've created this updated variable right here that I'm going to save it to instead. So the first thing though I want to do is I want to remove all the extra white space around it. So word.trim. So that way I don't have like an extra space or something somewhere to throw off my count. And then I want to use another method that we can do with strings that I haven't used in any one of the videos before. So pay attention if you want to learn and follow along here. So we do word dot ends with, and that allows me to find all the words that end in a period, or word dot ends with a comma, and then I can now do word equals, and I said I can't change single words. I can change word, but it won't update to the single words list yet. And I'll have to, like I said, I'm gonna have to save all that to update it. But in order to what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to remove the periods but keep the words. So in order to do that, we can use the substring method that within our strings. So I'll do word.substring, and then I can say, okay, I want it to. It takes three parameters. The first being, or I'm sorry, two parameters. The first being the beginning index, which is going to be 0, and then we'll do word.length -1, and then save that into there. So substring is taking the last word, or the last letter, which is the period or the comma right there. It's taking the last word off and then saving it back into Word. But in order for it to actually take effect, I need to save it into, like I said, this other list here, which was called updated. So we'll do updated.add. And we're going to do word.to lowercase, because remember, we also have to pay attention to capitalization here on our story. So that's going to make all the words lowercase and get rid of any ending periods or commas. And that's all the, I mean, if your story has more punctuation, like exclamation points or something like that, you'll have to check for that with just another or statement. So pretty simple. And the last thing we want to do is we want to sort. So if you're not really familiar with sort, we're going to sort using a collection. So we can pass it our list. It'll sort the collection for us based off of just the names, because these are singles. Like if we had our own like class of word, we could go in and specify how we wanted to sort it and all that kind of stuff. But for now, we're just going to keep it pretty simple. We don't need to go too crazy with it. So we'll do collections, and then make sure java.util.collections and array lists and all this other stuff that you're importing properly. .sort. And now we need to pass it what we want sorted, which is updated. And then, since we are returning a list string, we can just do return updated. And then now, we should have completely sanitized data where we can then use that within our unique word count. And we could probably use it within the get word count too. But that's not really necessary. I mean, we could do something like this. We could remove this now and do sanitize string, pass it story, and since it's returning a list, it'll pass it right to here, and then this should work just the same. So we should get 99 again, and which we do. Total word count 99, sentence count 7. Still working. All right, great. So now let's do the last thing, and that is count the number of unique words. Now this might be a little tricky. So we'll do public static void get unique word count, and pass it a parameter of a string, call it story. And then now let's go ahead, and the first thing we want to do is get a list string, call it S, and we want to sanitize our data. So it's just sanitize string story. And then now we have a list of sanitized data. And then let's just go ahead and output that data so you guys can see it firsthand whenever we run this. And we'll do another string called next word, and this is to help protect against throwing a index out of bounds exception whenever we go to work on our array. And I'll show you guys that here in a minute. We won't use that right away, but I'll show it to you. All right, so and also another thing we want to do is set int word count equal to 1, so that way whenever we instantiate the word count, because it sees the first word or whatever, the first time it sees it, it's automatically going to be 1. And then now we want to do a for loop to go through our list string. So we'll do for each, oh actually no, we'll do a standard I, and then we'll do s dot size, oh not equals, size. So that way it'll iterate through all of the all of our strings within our list, as long as, like I said, the size, or until we run out, basically. All right, so let's do if s.get I. That'll get the current string that we're looking for within the list, and it'll move throughout each one as I iterates. So I dot equals s dot get 1 plus I. And now this 1 plus I, that's the issue. That's where we're going to get some issues right there. It's going to give me an out of bounds, array out of bounds issue because whenever it gets to the very last one and it tries to add one more to that, it's going to step out of that array index, and it won't have an index of 100. It'll just have an index of 99. So that's where you get your array index 99 or out of bounds exceptions. So let's go ahead and take care of that before it becomes a problem. So to do that, I want to do another if statement. If s dot size does not equal 1 plus I, we'll do the next word is equal s dot get 1 plus I. And then so since this if statement won't be called upon with by the next or whenever this array reaches the end, because I will equal 1 plus I, we need to do an else to take care of that situation. And we'll do next word equals s dot get I, which will be the last word in our list. So this gets all the other words. Oh, mess that up. And this gets the last word. So instead of doing s.get.I or 1 plus I, we can just do equals next word here, and that fixes our array out of bounds issue that we were going to be getting. So now let's go ahead and start counting our words. So if s.get I, the current one that we're on, equals our next word, we know we can add a word, or we can add another one to our word count, so that word count will increment. So we'll just do word count plus plus, and that's all we need to do for the if statement. So now we can do else and take care of if k. So if the next word isn't an I, or isn't the same word as the word that we're currently looking at, we'll just output the current word that we're looking at plus the word count, like so, word count, and then set our word count back equal to 1. All right, so let's go ahead and run through this again real fast before we run it. So we have our list, and we're sanitizing it, and we're just outputting it so you guys can see it. So we have our string next word, so that way it will take care of our array out of bounds index error. And then we got this for loop that is going through our list. So if s.size, and then getting the next word, and then adding 1 to that word if that word is the same as the next word. And if that word is not the same as the next word, we're going to take the word count that we've done so far, because remember, this is running each time we get to the word. So if the word is the same word for a while, this word count will add up. So, but if it doesn't, we finally get to where that word is no longer there, and that's the reason we sorted it down here, so we can do this up here. We're going to output the word count and then reset the word count back to 1. All right, so let's do get unique word count, pass it the story, and then now we already know what the sentence count and that the word count is going to be. Let's go ahead and run this one last time, and we should get everything that we are looking for. There we go. So we have our total word count 99. We have 404, which is 1. The word A, which happens 5 times, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then a go all the way down to, I say, your corrupted files. Right, which is the very last one, which can come down here. And files, that's 1. And we can type that in here, and we definitely get 1 of 1 files. Alright guys, so that's how I solved this unique word count issue, and I'm sure there are tons of other different ways. If you guys want to share how you guys solved it, that would be pretty awesome. I'd like to take a look at that and see what you guys are working on. But until then, I'm going to be coming up with more of these coding challenges videos that we can work through together, so you guys can continue to learn and better your skills. But until then, hope you guys are staying safe out there. Like, comment, subscribe if you like what you've seen. Hit that notification icon so you're notified next time I post another video. And I'll see you guys in a very soon upcoming video. Y'all take care.